Aloha and welcome back to the Hawaii News Now Digital Center. I'm Dylan Ancheta. We are awaiting a live news conference with Honolulu police officers regarding the standoff that happened in Kailua earlier this morning. Now I want to go ahead, I'm going to keep an eye on this news conference, but I'm going to go ahead and show you some images from the scene that unfolded this morning before, I believe it was around the 11 o'clock hour. We started getting reports of this incident that was happening in the Kailua area. We were told officials and authorities were responding to an apparent barricade situation in which a man had some type of weapon. We were told no firearms were in his possession, but it was a concerning situation for those in the neighborhood. Nearby homes were evacuated. This caused the temporary evacuation of neighbors and residents, and it also led police to shut down a portion of Kihapai Street. And so we are awaiting this news conference right now with these police officers from the Honolulu Police Department. They are setting up, as you can see right now, and we expect them to provide some details on exactly what happened, or at least what they know as best as to their ability. We do know that HPD investigations often take a long time before we can get the full story. Once again, other members of the media are still there setting up, waiting to get their shots in place with Honolulu police as we await to learn more about this. One thing that I can tell you right off the bat is it did not sound like there were any injuries, any serious injuries reported with this, but we do know, we have been following the story all day. We do know that at least one person was taken into custody there. We are listening closely, awaiting the start for this news conference. Once again, you're looking at images from the scene earlier this morning. That was the Specialized Services Division vehicle that happened, that was called out there along with firefighters and other emergency first responders. We know there was a heavy police presence in the area when all of this began to unfold. It looks like those officers are still waiting to get into place. In the meantime, I want to go ahead and give you a recap of the news conference with Maui County officials. Now, we just wrapped up a hour and 15 minutes news conference there on Maui as officials discussed the latest in their response to the Maui wildfires. Officials there said that the operation will now shift into the recovery phase. We know the EPA will move in and start to slowly clean up the hazardous materials there. Officials there spent a good portion of that press conference stressing to the community that before the EPA begins to remove the debris from this nearly 5 square mile wide disaster zone there in Lahaina, they will work with the property owners of each property before anything can be moved off of their lots. Now, they also stress that this is a very sensitive and emotional time for residents there, and so they will be using heavy equipment as respectfully as possible before going in and clearing out the property. But again, we do know that there is hazardous material there in Lahaina. Let's go ahead now. It looks like those officers are set. Let's go ahead and send you to the Kaneohe Police Substation.
Major Bert Soria, spelled Bertsoria. Earlier today at about 9 a.m. today, officers were sent on report of an argument at a home on Kihapai Street. When they arrived, a male and a female were arguing, and a male was damaging the property within the home. The male then exited the home and approached the officers with a sword that was in its sheath. He refused the officers' orders to put down the sword, held it in an offensive manner, and instead went back into the home. The male refused additional repeated orders to exit the home, during which time the female relative was able to exit safely. Our specialized units were requested and nearby roads were closed. A few homes were evacuated Our crisis negotiators were able to establish contact with the male, who were also on scene, and who surrendered without incident shortly before 1:30 p.m. The individual was taken to a medical facility for evaluation and potential charges, including first-degree terroristic threatening and first-degree criminal property damage, are pending. I'll take questions at this time.
So I heard neighbors saying that I guess this particular person has been very threatening towards other people in the past. What was HPD's experience with this particular suspect?
Officers are familiar with this individual in that area. He is in his 30s, male in his 30s. I believe he's 32. The woman is a female in her late 50s, and at this time we're just identifying her as a family member.
I guess how big was the sword that the suspect had?
I don't have that exact information. All we know that it was identified as a sword in the sheath.
Did the suspect use the sword towards any officer or anyone else?
Initially, when he met with the officers, he held it in an offensive manner and went on an aggressive stance towards the officer. So at this time, I'd like to turn over to my captain, Hunter Alou, for further questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, any questions? We had approximately 2 SSD teams. As far as the exact count, that number I don't have immediately available. I don't have the exact time. You got the exact time? So I don't know the exact time they were called, but it was approximately 0900 hours, 9 a.m. I don't have that information offhand.
Who makes that call?
The patrol makes that call. We make that determination based on the circumstances in front of us.
What brought that to the level of having
Well, we felt with their particular skills, including them being able to mingle with the crisis negotiation team, it was a better tactic we felt probably the safest way to kind of bring this to a resolution.
Was the sword the only weapon found? Were there guns also?
The last I checked, they're still in the house conducting an investigation. I believe they may have had the sword, but I can't confirm that at this time. The investigation is still ongoing at this time. Yeah.
there was never any threat with a weapon coming out of
Not that I'm aware of, but again, the investigation is still ongoing. The sword was used in a threatening manner.
And did the woman have any injuries or was she threatened? Or was it just a matter
That's also part of the investigation. I don't have immediately available.
So for the woman, what's her relationship to the suspect?
That we're going to withhold for now until we feel it's necessary.
But she lives in the house. She's a resident.
That's still being investigated.
And was there any? So he just refused to come out after he had the treatment?
Yes, we tried to get him out multiple times. We established verbal contact with him. We had face-to-face and contact on the phone. But beyond that, yeah, at some point he came out, but it took it was a long negotiation.
So he was never holding the female like a hostage.
Not that I'm aware of, but again, that part of the investigation is still ongoing.
Was there any like mental health counselors to help out with this process?
We didn't utilize any mental health counselors, any professionals. No. No. Yes. No, they're attached to our criminal investigation division. Yeah. But they frequently respond to scenes together. He does have a criminal record. As far as the specifics of it, I don't have that information.
So most of these calls that phone gets or get is for arguments?
I don't know that information offhand. Any other questions?
Can I do a shout out thank you?
So at this time, I'd like to thank District 4 patrol units, our District 4 crime reduction unit, our specialized services division, and our crisis negotiation team for assisting in this event. And we also like to thank our community members for their patience and for their understanding throughout this event. And knowing that their safety and well-being is our priority, and we achieved that today. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
And that was a live news conference with Honolulu officers in the Kaneohe area. Now, what we learned from that so far is the man accused in this barricade situation is a man in his 30s. I believe the officer said he was 32. We do know that this all started out as an argument. Once again, take a look at some images from the scene that were previously recorded today. A lot of first responders, heavy police presence there in the area. Police said this started off as an argument between the two, and at some point the individual, which is now in custody, grabbed what was described to be a sword of some sort and was holding it in a threatening manner against the officers. And we also learned that the suspect surrendered before 1:30 this afternoon, and he was taken into police custody. And he now faces potential charges of first-degree terroristic threatening and criminal property damage as well. And police also said that officers were familiar with the individual. They do know that he has a criminal record, although they would not elaborate exactly what type of other offenses he had on his record. But police there did mention that he had a criminal record, and they are looking into it as a part of their ongoing investigation. The good news, again, no major injuries were reported. The woman that he was with was able to safely escape after crisis negotiators also made contact with the man. And this dragged on for several hours. We do know that some streets in that Kailua neighborhood, Kihapai Street is where it happened. Some other streets were closed in that area to block off people from passing through. So police also said that he was taken for a medical evaluation. All of this is going to be a part of the ongoing criminal investigation to see exactly what led up to this barricade situation there in Kailua. We want to go ahead and end this with a live look outside over sunny Honolulu. Another first alert that another red flag warning could be in effect as early as tomorrow. There will be some breezy winds going through and low humidity and high temperatures. And of course, those conditions were in place when the devastating Lahaina wildfires happened on August 8th. It's been exactly 3 weeks since that life-changing incident for the entire state of Hawaii. We are still working to get as many answers as we can on that. But again, for this week, we know dry conditions, another possible red flag warning will be in effect. When that happens, you are urged to avoid starting any fires outside. It's not the time to be grilling or having any campfires, especially around dry brush and dry area, because they can quickly grow to out of control wildfires. Our first alert team will have more on that coming up in later editions of Hawaii News Now. Our first newscast is in about an hour, coming up on KHNL and K5. That's first at 4. For now, I'm Dylan Ancheta in the HNN Digital Center. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day.